I just never met anyone more beautiful than freedom. Funny how that line hits harder when you've lived it. You spent years believing marriage was the dream, the symbol of success, the final piece of happiness. But somewhere between the vows and the silence, reality hit different. Now you wake up every day, go to work, and come home to a house that doesn't even feel like yours. Your wife barely touches you. Your kids barely look at you. And you sit there, wondering when exactly your life stopped belonging to you. You give everything, your time, your energy, your soul, and still end up the bad guy. Every argument somehow circles back to your fault. Every sacrifice gets overlooked. And if you dare to speak up, you're called selfish, toxic, or worse, a man who doesn't understand modern relationships. But here's the truth. The system isn't broken. It's built this way. Modern marriage doesn't empower men. It empties them. Before we go deeper into this, be sure to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel reach more men who need to hear this truth. Because once you understand how marriage became a trap disguised as love, you'll realize something powerful. You were never afraid of commitment. You were just in love with freedom. What if the biggest scam ever sold to men wasn't about money, but about love? Everyone tells you marriage is sacred. They say it's the ultimate proof of maturity. But look closer. Most men aren't walking into a partnership. They're walking into a contract that trades their freedom for an illusion. Marriage used to be a deal. You protect, you provide, she nurtures, she supports. Today, you still do your part, but hers got erased. Now you're the provider, the emotional crutch, the housekeeper, and the punching bag. It's not balance, it's bankruptcy, spiritual and emotional. Modern marriage doesn't empower men, it extracts them, piece by piece, until the man who once had purpose starts living like a servant in his own home. Most men think they're building a family. The truth? They're building a system that feeds off their effort and gives back silence. You work harder. You love deeper. You give more. But no matter what you do, it's never enough. You're told to be patient, be kind, be understanding. But what nobody tells you is that all those words mean comply. Stay quiet, keep providing, die slowly. It's not love, it's labor disguised as loyalty. The same society that told you marriage is a partnership laughs when you collapse under its weight. She's strong and independent. You're lazy and emotionally unavailable. Funny how equality only applies one way. You thought you were marrying your soulmate. Turns out you were signing up for lifetime debt, paid in effort, attention, and respect you'll never get back. So ask yourself this: if marriage is supposed to complete men, why do so many end up broken? Because marriage today isn't a promise, it's a trap. A system built to drain men of everything that made them powerful, independent, and alive. And what's coming next will show you exactly how that system was engineered to make sure you never notice until it's too late. Why do men stop fighting? It's not because they're weak. It's because they're starved. Every man runs on one thing: respect. Not attention. Not comfort. Respect. It's oxygen for the masculine soul. Take it away, and he suffocates slowly while still pretending to breathe. Most people think men crave love the way women do. But the truth is, men can live without affection. They can't live without honor. A man will work himself to death for a woman who believes in him. But the moment she starts treating him like a child, something inside him begins to die. Modern marriage stripped that from men. It told women, challenge him, correct him, keep him humble. What it really meant was, break him. You see it everywhere. Sitcoms, social media, daily conversations. The husband is always the joke. The wife is always the hero. And the audience laughs, not realizing they're laughing at male dignity. Respect used to be mutual. Now it's conditional. She demands love no matter what. He has to earn basic decency every day. Not equality, humiliation disguised as progress. The system tells men that asking for respect is insecurity, that wanting appreciation is ego. So they shut up, they smile, they keep providing. They die a little inside every time they get dismissed, corrected, or mocked by the woman they swore to protect. What nobody tells you is that a man doesn't collapse overnight. He erodes, quietly, slowly, until one day there's nothing left but a paycheck and an empty stare. And then she says, "You've changed." No, he didn't change. He just ran out of oxygen. So ask yourself, how long can a man survive in a world that punishes him for wanting respect? Because when respect dies, love doesn't stand a chance. And the next part will show you exactly who killed it and how society turned that crime into a comedy. Who killed respect? The answer isn't one woman. It's the system that trained her. Somewhere along the line, male authority stopped being respected and started being ridiculed. Didn't happen by accident. It was engineered. Turn on any show, scroll any feed, and you'll see the same script on repeat. The father's the idiot. The husband's the burden. The woman's the genius cleaning up his mess. And we laugh because the joke's supposed to be harmless. But it isn't. It's programming. Most men think they're failing at marriage because they're not doing enough. The truth is, they've been stripped of the one thing that made them functional: authority. You can't protect what you're not allowed to lead. You can't be responsible for a family when every decision you make gets vetoed for everyone's good. Modern culture calls this progress, but what it really created is chaos. Homes with men who fund everything yet control nothing. CEOs of families who can't make a single executive call. And when men push back, they're called controlling. When they stay quiet, they're called weak. Either way, they lose. That's not equality. That's entrapment. What nobody tells you is that authority isn't about power. It's about accountability. Take that from men, and you turn leaders into laborers, husbands into helpers, fathers into background characters. And the cost isn't just emotional, it's generational. Sons grow up watching their fathers dismissed. Daughters grow up thinking respect is optional. The cycle continues, producing men afraid to lead and women who can't follow anyone they don't secretly resent. Society claims it wants strong men, but every policy, every headline, every punchline is designed to neuter them. You can't demand leadership while mocking the leader. So ask yourself, if every story paints the man as useless, what does that make every boy watching it believe about himself? Because the project worked. Authority's gone. And once you erase it, something darker takes its place. Despair. And that despair, it's not just emotional anymore, it's chemical. It's killing men from the inside out. You want to know what happens when a man lives without respect? He doesn't explode. He fades. Every insult, every eye roll, every "you don't get it" strips a piece of him away. Until one day, he's still breathing, but the man inside is gone. Psychologists call it burnout. But let's call it what it really is: psychological starvation. Men aren't depressed because they're weak. They're depressed because they've been trained to function in an environment that denies them oxygen. Most people think men fall apart because of money, stress, or ego. But the truth is, disrespect is poison. A man can survive failure. He can survive pain. but he can't survive being treated like he doesn't matter. You see it in their faces, men zoning out at dinner tables, staring at the floor, smiling just enough to look fine. That's not peace. That's surrender. Society calls it emotional maturity. It's not. It's silent decay. What nobody tells you is that when you remove respect from a man's world, his brain literally changes. His testosterone drops. His motivation dies. His drive for achievement turns into apathy. You're not watching a man become calmer. You're watching him give up. And when that happens, he stops building. He stops leading. He stops believing that anything he does matters. You don't have to cage a man who's lost his sense of worth. He'll lock himself up from the inside. The system calls this progress. It tells women that pushing men down makes them stronger. But it doesn't make anyone stronger. It just creates a generation of hollow men pretending to be fine. Men who go to work, pay the bills, and disappear the moment they get home. And here's the part nobody wants to admit. Chronic disrespect kills more men than bullets ever will. It turns confidence into confusion, masculinity into misery. It's not toxic masculinity that's destroying men. It's the absence of respect that's killing them quietly. Men used to chase goals. Now they chase peace. Men used to fight for their families. Now they fight to feel seen. When respect dies, the man doesn't die in a headline. He dies in 1,000 quiet moments that nobody notices. They call it being emotionally distant. It's not distance, it's damage. So the next time you see a man who looks emotionless, ask yourself, is he cold? Or is he just numb from being dismissed for too long? Because when a man stops feeling, he stops living. And that's when something darker steps in. Not depression, not sadness, something society created on purpose. To keep him broken, obedient, and silent. You've seen him before. The man sitting in his car, engine off, just staring at the steering wheel. Not crying, not angry, just gone. That's not laziness. That's not indifference. That's exhaustion from fighting a war he can't even name. Men don't talk about pain. They hide it. Not because they want to, but because the world taught them no one listens. When a man opens up, he's complaining. When he stays quiet, he's emotionally unavailable. Either way, he loses. Most men think silence protects them. The truth, it kills them slowly. They swallow every insult, every rejection, every quiet disrespect, until it eats through their identity. Society tells women to speak their truth. But when men do the same, it's weakness. That's the double standard nobody wants to touch. So men adapt. They joke about it. They work longer hours. They drown it in alcohol, in video games, in distraction. Anything that numbs the noise. The world calls them detached. But detachment is just self-defense when nobody hears your voice. And when they finally collapse, the system doesn't ask why. It just labels them toxic, unstable, or cowardly. They never ask what drove him there. They only ask why he didn't get help sooner, from a world that never offered help at all. What nobody tells you is that the silence isn't natural. It's engineered. Men were programmed to serve, not to speak. To endure, not to feel. To die with dignity, rather than live with disappointment. That's why so many men look alive but feel dead. They're ghosts, walking proof of a culture that applauds their effort while mocking their existence. And the cruelest part? The same society that drains them of purpose turns around and blames them for the emptiness it created. So ask yourself, how long can you suffocate half the population before something breaks? Because something is breaking. And when it snaps, it won't be quiet anymore. Next, we'll follow that snap, straight into the part of marriage they never warn you about. the financial guillotine. They call it divorce. Men call it financial execution. It doesn't happen with a sword. It happens with signatures. One day you're a husband. The next, you're an ATM with visiting rights. Most men think marriage ends when love dies. The truth is, it ends when the law wakes up. And when it does, it doesn't ask who tried harder. It asks who earns more. Guess who that usually is? In modern courts, equality stops where the paycheck starts. You can spend 20 years building a home and lose half of it in 20 minutes. The house? Hers. The kids? Mostly hers. The bills? Still yours. Not because you failed, but because the system needs your labor to keep feeding itself. Society loves to say, happy wife, happy life. But what nobody tells you is that the unhappiest wives file first. 70% of divorces are initiated by women, and that number skyrockets when they out-earn their husbands. It's not about heartbreak, it's about leverage. They call it starting over. You call it losing everything you built. You lose your savings, your sanity, and sometimes even your children, all while being told it's fair. They don't just split assets, they split identities. She gets support, you get survival. You can't even complain. Society tells you to man up, move on, rebuild. But how do you rebuild when the system keeps the blueprints? What nobody tells you is that marriage today isn't a union, it's an investment contract with only one guaranteed outcome. The man pays. And the TRZest part? It's not even about love anymore, it's about control. The government steps in as the third partner in your marriage, ready to collect interest the moment things fall apart. They say love is blind, but in court, only the man pays for not seeing clearly. Men go broke trying to buy peace in a system designed to bankrupt them for compliance. It's not romance, it's risk management disguised as morality. The same woman who once said, "I don't care about money," now walks away with half your future because the law said she deserved it. And society cheers because the system doesn't need strong men. It needs working men, ones broken enough to keep producing, quiet enough to never question. Marriage used to be a foundation. Now it's a funnel. Your money, your effort, your legacy, all poured into a system that never gives back what it takes. Ask any man who's been through it. The court doesn't destroy you fast, it drains you slowly. Every check, every hearing, every reminder that you don't own your own life anymore. You don't just lose wealth, you lose dignity, freedom, time. And what's worse, you start to believe you deserved it. So ask yourself, if love ends in a courtroom, was it ever love to begin with? Because what's waiting next is even darker. When they're done taking your money, they come for something priceless, your children. And that's where the system stops pretending it's about justice and starts showing you what control really looks like. You ever wonder how it got this bad? How women who once built families with men now compete against them? That didn't happen by accident. It was programmed. For decades, the message has been clear. Strong women don't need men. It sounds empowering, but what it really means is weak men build stronger systems of control. Modern culture didn't free women, it weaponized them. It turned the idea of independence into a marketing campaign that sells them careers, consumerism, and contempt. Meanwhile, men became the villain in their story, the obstacle they must overcome to feel liberated. Most men think feminism was about equality. The truth? It was about economics. 2 incomes, 2 taxpayers, double the labor force, and half the family structure. The system got richer, the homes got emptier. Women were told they could have it all. What nobody told them was that having it all means doing it all, alone. No family, no peace, just deadlines and dating apps. Men were told to adapt, to be better, to soften up. But every time they did, the bar moved higher. Now, the more they give, the less they're valued. The more they serve, the less they're desired. It's not progress, it's inversion. Social media finished the job. It trained women to chase validation instead of connection, to trade loyalty for attention, to measure worth by followers, not family. Now, men aren't partners, they're placeholders. Optional, replaceable, disposable. And here's the cruelest twist. Even women are miserable inside this setup. Anxiety, loneliness, and depression have skyrocketed. Because you can't reprogram biology, you can only suppress it. What nobody tells you is that the war between men and women isn't natural. It's profitable. The system thrives when the genders compete, not when they connect. Because united, they build families. Divided, they build revenue. So the next time you hear someone say, "Men are the problem," remember who's selling the solution. Because what comes next isn't just about broken homes, it's about broken generations. And in the final part, you'll see why more men are waking up, walking away, and choosing something far more dangerous than love: freedom. They called it fear of commitment, but it was never fear. It was clarity. Men aren't running from love. They're running from a contract that demands sacrifice without reciprocity, from a culture that calls their strength toxic, their ambition selfish, and their silence weak. For years, they played the role: the provider, the protector, the patient one. But something changed. Men started asking questions, dangerous questions. Why give up freedom for an illusion of partnership? Why sign a deal where losing half your wealth and respect is considered growth? Why keep building homes for people who no longer believe in family? Most men don't hate women. They hate the game, the double standards, the guilt traps, the endless demand to prove they're good enough for people who stopped appreciating them long ago. And once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. That's the awakening. The moment a man stops apologizing for wanting peace more than approval. They call it loneliness, but it's not. It's solitude. The kind that rebuilds men. The kind that makes them dangerous again. Because a man who owns his time owns his life. Freedom isn't rebellion, it's recovery. The man who chooses freedom isn't avoiding love. He's rejecting dependency. He's done being drained, judged, and disposable. He's building something different, a life that can't be weaponized against him. And here's the twist. Once he stops chasing validation, he becomes what society fears most: untouchable. No contract, no control, no compliance, just direction, purpose, power. So maybe the truth isn't that men stopped believing in love. Maybe they just stopped believing in the version sold to them. Because the real fairy tale isn't marriage, it's freedom. And once you've met her, you never go back. If this message hit you, don't just scroll past. Hit subscribe, drop a comment, tell me your story. Every man who speaks breaks the silence a little more. And together, we rebuild what they tried to erase. Remember this: you were never afraid of love. You just finally met someone more beautiful than it.